Welcome back. Let's talk about variables. You probably have bad memories from high school algebra about the word variables, but it's not so bad. Now, languages differ in how many variables they have and how they create them. Right, so if we look at Free Basic, for example, then they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different kinds of variables. And that is still very moderate, really, because if you were working in C++, then you'd have to be able to work with all of these. And then, of course, there is Java. But in YAB, you literally have two kinds of variables. You have numerical variables, and you have strings, and that's it. And so the numerical variable works like this. A equals whatever, just a number. Then for a string variable, a sequence of letters, which can also include numbers, by the way. It works like this. You add this $sign to the end. And you put your string in double quotation marks. So it's really very easy. In some language you have to say dim $, as string, and then you can say $, equals whatever. Yeah, or declare A as float. Nothing like that here. You just define it and start using it. If you start using it without having defined it, then if it's a numeric variable, it'll automatically be 0. If it's a string variable, it'll automatically be an empty string. So it's all quite simple. Now, YAB and YABasic before it could, in my opinion, have used a third. It is sometimes useful to have an integer variable type, but we don't have it. However, we can fake it. Here I define B as the integer part of A. So I'm taking this and I'm cutting off everything after the period. So if you really need an integer, you can create one. Okay, so that means that we can have 26 numeric and 26 string variables. That's not very much, is it? Well, no, because you're not limited to just a single identifying character for your name. You can have something like this. In this case, the character, the meaning of life, the universe, and everything is 42. Give yourself bonus points if you recognize the reference. Now look something else here. Let. This is very old-fashioned. It is no longer really needed. And in fact, if you look at the documentation, they've taken it out. It is not in the list of reserved words, but it's actually still in there for compatibility purposes. So we are going to take this out now because it's really, really old-fashioned. Okay, so a variable name is not allowed to have spaces in it. Also, don't put any high ASCII or funny Unicode in it. I'm really sorry to all you Turkish speakers, but no, don't put any diacriticals in your variable names. Also, no plus signs, no exclamation marks, just letters and numbers. See, so that would be fine. Okay, so there are different ways to write this. What I normally use is called Pascal case. But there are other cases, other ways of writing this. Right, so here every word starts with a capital letter and the rest is in lowercase. Camel case is very different, but the first word is not capitalized. Here you see the is lowercase. You mostly see that being used in Java. Then there's snake case, which you use underscore. Right? And that'll work in YAB, no problem. However, YAB does not allow kebab case, where you use dashes or hyphens, whatever you want to call them. Don't use that, it won't work. Now, of course, you can combine those, and that would give you, okay, if you want to pause the video and study that, you can. So, kebab case is not allowed. Anything with hyphens in it is not allowed. And that because of the way YAB uses white space. All right, so if you have a variable called the, and you have a variable called meaning, which you want to subtract from it, you could write that. Right, so now you can see why you can't use that as a variable name, because this means the same as that. Okay, so let's just take this away. Just pick one that you feel comfortable with and try to stick to it. Right, so we've apportioned these variables, and now we are going to print them. Right, let's open up a terminal. And let's run this. So what do we expect to see? We expect to see 32.678 blah blah, then a little space, and then 32. Underneath that, we expect to see a string variable, and then 42. And so we do. Except there's something else here. There's a 0 and an empty space. What's going on there? Well, I haven't shown you everything. First, I tried to print a variable called C, which is that 0. Now C doesn't exist yet, it hasn't been defined, so Yab merrily creates it, gives it a value of 0, and proceeds to print it. Then I tried to print this one, $, or a string, however you want to call it. I usually say a string. But this is a capital A, and that is a lowercase a, and they're different. And so Yab said, oh, that thing doesn't exist yet, I'll just create it quickly and make it an empty string and print it, which is this empty spot there. So here I've got print in capital, here I've got print with a capital P, here I've got print in lowercase, and they all work because these keywords, these commands that you give the computer, are case insensitive. But variable names are case sensitive. And so this is something you have to keep an eye on, because if I change that capital M into a lowercase m, this is now a completely different variable, and it'll just print an empty line. Okay, and those are the variables that you have to play with in Yab. You can make those variable names pretty much as long as you like. There must be a limit somewhere, but I've never bumped into it. Probably 128 or 256 characters, something like that. And so essentially the supply is infinite. Okay, so that's it for today. See you next time.